Join us today for a Disney Studios retrospective. Welcome back to Lobby Concessionals, the movie podcast where nobody's right and everybody's wrong. Oh, gonna get it one day. It's gonna be perfect. I'm Brendon. This is that's Alison. Like and subscribe if you guys are enjoying what we're doing. That helps us huge. We'd like to put up more stuff, and we can't do that without you guys. Mm-hmm. Today we're gonna talk about something near and dear to both of our hearts, and that's Disney.
Yeah.
The whole shebang.
Yeah.
All of it. Studios. Probably the theme park, because that's what we do.
Yeah,
that's what we do. And I kind of just want to. I think we D23 just wrapped up.
Yeah,
and it was just news after news after news, and
crazy.
It's nuts.
Yeah,
that one studio could have a convention for itself.
Yeah,
and that's kind of triggered what this is going to be about, because it wasn't like that. It wasn't always like that.
No. Definitely not.
We had to wait years for a Disney release as opposed to weeks.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about our experiences with it. I guess maybe the evolution of Disney Studios, maybe just through the lens of a fan as opposed to hard facts.
Yeah. Some nostalgia.
I know you're not prepped for it, so but I figured it was a subject that was easy enough.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So we'll just jump in really easily. So what's your early Disney memories?
So, first Disney memory was The Little Mermaid for me. So it came out the year my older brother was born. And so I don't know if my mom bought it or someone bought it on VHS for my brother. And then it just became sort of the household movie. When I was born, then we just kept watching it forever. My dad swears he can sing all of the songs, which I think is hilarious, and I need to somehow get him to do that. That's sort of my first induction, I guess, into the love of Disney. But my mom was a Disney fan as well. Her favorite movie is Snow White.
Nope.
And so we always had as many VHS movies of Disney, and they're always Disney when we were growing up. So
I guess famously my first interaction with a Disney movie is with Snow White, which you guys never let me live down.
Love it.
It was the first movie I ever saw in theaters. I didn't make it through, as we all know. The witch drinks the potion, starts to go, and the tears come. And I'm still scarred to this day.
I just love that so much.
It's terrifying. I don't know how to get over it. I don't know. No amount of therapy is ever going to fix it. But beyond that, I think I had a younger cousin who was like my sister. And she got all the VHSs. We lived together, but she always got the VHSs. So Dumbo was her big one.
Oh, nice.
So I remember the very specifically Dumbo being one of the first ones with the clamshell, and that was always on repeat.
Yeah.
Always on repeat. Obviously, we got to the Renaissance stuff after.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But Dumbo was Snow White and Dumbo were the two big ones.
That's fair.
In terms of formative years.
Yeah.
It's like a flashback there, and I'm just sitting on the ride, and I'm like, I don't know how to do this.
I love those storybook rides, and just have to force you to go on it every time.
Just can't.
It's so good, though.
I can't. I've been watching. We'll do a quick aside. I've been watching streams of people who have been on it because they'd updated the Snow White ride.
Right.
Which I haven't been on. I think you've been on the updated version. And people keep telling me there's less witch. There's less witch. It doesn't look like it, guys. It looks like there's just the same amount of witch.
So great. It's so great.
I can't do it. So in talking about your early years with that, why do you think the rewatchability is there? Because I'm assuming you were the same as us, and those tapes were just always in.
Yeah, all the time. I don't know what it is. I think they're heart-wrenching and heartwarming stories at the same time. There's always some sort of terrible thing that's happened, right? Like a parent has died, or like they've been taken away from their family or something along those lines. And then, but there's always some sort of heartwarming thing that happens by the end, or like something that makes everything okay. And also like the singing, I think, is just to know the songs. And like back then it was like, well, you get the VHS or you get the cassette, you can't have both. Like, I was like, okay, well, so in order to memorize all the songs, you had to just keep watching the movie over and over again. So I think that was part of it too. But
why do you think those songs work? And Alan Menken aside, you know, you get it, but like, why is that not a thing in the later movies? What are we missing?
I know. And I do have to say, like, some of the later movies I do find are super catchy as well. But
it's always just one song. Never the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's right? Usually... Like, if I asked you favorite song from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, that's like
right.
Everything.
But if I asked you, like, favorite song from Frozen.
Yeah, it's probably just going to be... well, yeah, no.
You know?
I don't, yeah. What song do I like? I like Olaf's song from Frozen.
Let's just move on.
Yeah. You're rough. Yeah, I do think there's something a little bit different, and I don't know what it is. Like, if it's more, maybe they're trying to update it more to like a new age audience, where those sort of ballads, those musical ballads aren't as classic anymore. So they're trying to fit to a different crowd, which I don't think you need. Like, I think the musical ballads are what you want in a Disney movie. So yeah, I have a hard time because I'm not a big Lin-Manuel Miranda fan.
That's your first hot take.
Yeah, that's my I get it. Like, I like Hamilton. I get the appeal. I just have a hard time. So the fact that he's sort of been doing all of the music for the last couple of Disney movies has been really tough for me, but he does do a good job. Like
we're gonna get to those.
Yeah, okay.
I've been sitting around because I knew we were gonna do this episode.
Yeah.
And I was trying to put this into words, and I still don't know how to do it.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to figure it out, and maybe you can help me out. Especially growing up in that era when it was the movies, when it was the Disney Afternoon, and when there was Disney Adventures, the little magazine.
Yeah.
It just felt like all those things were just a little bit more special, like the Sunday night movie World of Disney.
Yeah.
And the theme parks were like this unattainable, unachievable thing. We didn't have the internet, so we never had could just look up photos of Disneyland.
Yeah.
And it was always just a castle and maybe Mickey. You didn't know what the rides were. You didn't know all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I wonder if overexposure has kind of taken away the specialness of it. If I'm wording that right at all.
Yeah. I could see that where because I like my family was, or well, more my dad was like, we're never going to the Disney parks. Like that is
you showed
not
him
happening. Yeah. So in my adulthood, gone more times than I can count. But that was the big thing. Like, I think it was this, like, I can't do a YouTube walkthrough as a kid. Like, it was just this sort of, I know there's a castle and I know it's this magical place and I'm never going to see it.
Yeah.
Like, so I can only watch the Disney intros and that's going to give me, or like the ABC specials where they do something. Yeah. Like those were so yeah, maybe it was this, the few and far between that we had, like that was what was going to entice you.
And it just, having to wait a year, maybe more for a movie.
Yeah.
And then maybe having to wait 2 years for the VHS release. It's not like that happened right away.
No.
So you watched Lion King once in the theaters and then you basically had to wait like 18 months for a VHS release. So it maybe felt like the home experience was a brand new experience.
Yeah. Well, and I don't even remember, like, I don't know what the first Disney movie I would have watched in theaters would have been, but yeah, like I think Disney for me was a VHS experience. Yeah. Like it was never really, we weren't going to the theater really to watch that. Like I think my dad wouldn't have wanted as a family to go watch a Disney movie. So yeah, I think it would have been mainly at home film.
Yeah.
So
I guess because you're a little bit younger, so your peak Disney theater experiences were post-Renaissance.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
talk to me about maybe why you think it wasn't as, like, were the movies just not as good? Were the songs not as good? Why the decline? And not like from a studio standpoint, we can talk about Michael Eisner all day long and that kind of stuff. But in terms of a quality thing, where's the reach here? What it wasn't like in talking about, it's not the stories weren't more famous. I can't imagine Tarzan or Hercules not being as popular as Lion King in terms of just an elevator pitch.
Yeah.
So where does the decline come from, and why is that a thing? In terms for somebody who lived it.
Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't even say the decline is until like more recently. Like, I think I still loved everything that Disney was putting out for a long time. But I think with the creation of Pixar and just that push of like different stories and different worlds and sort of going a little bit beyond the, like, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna love a princess movie till the end of time, but I think just to be able to explore something different and to push sort of the boundaries of, like, it maybe Disney did have a formula, like it was sort of a clear formula that they were going off of, and so to push that with Pixar, to have another, like, I don't think DreamWorks pushed the boundaries as much. Like, I think having that competition maybe really tried to change Disney, and Disney just couldn't take it.
Yeah, I just felt like for a while there, you know, the movie came out, they were going to win Best Animated Picture.
Yeah.
They were going to win Best Song.
Yeah.
And so I think the push to always have that song in the movie, I don't know whether it was a good decision or a bad decision. Yeah. Especially for, I forgot what the Hunchback song is.
Oh.
Because I know the good stuff in the movie, but I forgot the actual the song that they put out. Because Hercules was "Go the Distance" by Michael Bolton. Yeah. You know, I think the Tarzan was obviously one of 800 Phil Collins songs.
One of them.
You know, I think My Reflection for Mulan, obviously. So there's always the song. They kept going and they kept doing that. And I don't know when they stopped doing that as well. Maybe it felt like around the Brother Bear era or Lilo and Stitch-ish.
Yeah.
Something like that. Well, I mean, so that's where it feels like there's the decline for me. But it also feels like at that point, Disney started figuring out that they needed to age with their audience. Yeah. So you start seeing live action films, and Disney had always done live action films, especially in the early 90s, Hocus Pocus and all that stuff, Mighty Ducks. But now we were starting to get like teen movies, Lizzie McGuire movie, Hannah Montana's, things of that nature. And did that stuff take over for you as well, or?
I think I was definitely really
High School Musical, obviously.
Yeah,
sorry.
High School Musical. Yeah. I was excited for all of those things. I think it was a weird, like, Disney animated to me and Disney live action are just so different. Yeah. But I think they were putting a lot of their ducks in the live action. Like, I think they were like, we want this to be our main thing here. Yeah. And so I think they did lose some of that. What they could have done with their animated films. Yeah. And so I think, it was that detracting maybe from what...
Well, I like what you said about the Pixar stuff too, because I wonder if they thought that was good enough. Yeah. In an animated sense. Like, we can focus on that. Yeah. And then the little princesses that we grew up with are now in their teens, so I wonder if we can push those into other things. Yeah. You know, Mean Girls, Freaky Friday. Yeah. Things of that nature. Yeah. So we'd basically go through almost all of the 2000s with just live action and Pixar, with a smattering of really, really small releases. Meet the Robinsons, Chicken Little. Yeah. In the 2000s. Yeah. And then we get to Princess and the Frog.
Which is a huge change.
A huge change. So why do you think that? What worked for you in that sense?
I think maybe a return to the princess. Like, I think that's sort of a staple of Disney to have a princess movie. And then again with that, the music is just so fantastic in that movie that I don't think you get from, like, you don't really have music in Chicken Little and Meet the Robinsons.
You got that great Rob Thomas song.
Oh yeah, sorry. Right. How could I forget? So I think that return to sort of a classic idea, like, you don't I don't know, still touching on some really major life topics, like having it set in the South of the United States, but still having it be like a kids movie, and sort of showing that classism, but still having it be this princess and this idea of the bayou. I like all of that.
And it's crazy to me. It's pinpointed as the resurgence.
Yeah.
And it's still underappreciated.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that still don't like that movie, and I don't
get it.
I can't see it.
I don't get it. The pushback for the Splash Mountain redo.
Oh, I know.
Is really strange to me. I get that the ride's not going to change. You still get the drop.
Yeah. It's still Splash Mountain.
It's still
basically.
Splash Mountain.
Yeah.
And I understand the want of things to always stay the same.
Yeah.
But I think when people pick and choose when that happens, for something else, it'd be like, well, Walt always said the park was always going to change. I'm like, well, it is then.
Yeah. And you have to be okay with it. You
got to be okay with it. So it's weird to me that the people pinpoint that as the resurgence, and I actually do, especially with the traditional. It's still traditionally 3D animated. 2D animated.
2D, yeah.
Until Tangled, which is arguably Disney's being like, we're still here, guys.
Yeah.
Let's
come back. Yeah.
So I wonder, how have you adjusted to the traditional animation to the 3D animation, especially growing up with the 2D stuff?
Yeah, I love that 2D animation. Like, I think the backdrops are just so vibrant and bright and beautiful. I think it is a struggle with some of the newer films not having that 2D. Like, I think as much as it's more realistic with that vibrancy of the 3D, it's just there's something about that 2D just makes animation to me. Like, it's yeah. And
I'm now I have the problem. I actually genuinely get confused with which a Pixar movie is and what a Disney animation movie is.
Yeah,
because they're all CG.
Yeah.
So I think when I think of like Big Hero 6, I'm like, is that the... Nope, that's not a Pixar movie. That's just a straight Disney animation.
That is Disney, yeah.
And I get super, super confused, and I kind of hate it. I'm not gonna lie.
It's a weird, like, I feel like they're not playing to their strong suit. Like, I know Disney and Pixar are combined, but Pixar is clearly like a separate entity in a way.
Yeah.
And that they should just play to their strengths. And I think Disney's strength was that 2D art animation, 2D art. And so, like, it's so strange to me that they would try to compete with Pixar in that sense. Like, yeah, but because watching the live action, like, I watched one episode of that Cars road trip.
Why?
I was just curious. I just wanted to see.
What are you doing?
I know it was a terrible idea. It was rough, but it was only like 8 minutes, so whatever. But it like the animation is just so insanely good.
Yeah.
Like, it's so realistic that these cars are talking to me, and I just don't get it, and it freaks me out. But yeah, I think, like, it's so hard to compete with that. And I don't even think Disney's using that technology. Like, that is a Pixar.
That's a Pixar proprietary. Let's talk about Pixar, because I think we kind of glazed over it a little bit.
Yeah.
So Toy Story is released in 95.
Yeah.
And arguably changes the complete direction of that company.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like a weird standard now. There's a Pixar standard.
Yeah.
Obviously you talked about Cars, and for whether we agree with those movies or not, that's a money machine for Pixar.
Seriously.
Do you personally relate the Pixar stuff as Disney stuff, or do you separate it in your head?
I do think I separate it. Like, I think it is this is clearly a Pixar. This is clearly a Disney. So, which is so weird, being under the same company. But I think I always put them, like, I know what's Pixar. I know.
What about excitement level? If it's a Pixar movie or if it's a Disney animated release, do you have the same excitement levels, or do you have a higher standard when you know it's a Pixar movie over an animated film?
Disney, yeah. I don't know, because I think if I do see Pixar, I expect a certain quality of visuals, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Whereas with Disney, I expect a certain quality of story. And not that Pixar in any way tells a bad story. I think they do an amazing job. But, like, Cars, for example. it's a little bit of a rough story. And so I think I usually would say like Pixar to me should be visually stunning, and Disney animation I expect more of a story.
Okay. Yeah. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through this resurgence, and in the middle of this resurgence, very quickly back to back, Disney buys Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they own, well, we didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
But we didn't know they were going to own 80% of the theater market share.
Yeah, just insane. Insane.
So as a fan of all that other stuff and of that stuff,
mm-hmm.
how's that been in terms of an adjustment of, is it too much? Do you get burnt out? Like, I don't like, we've talked about burnout on the show before.
Yeah.
Parker kind of feels it. Sometimes he hasn't. I think he's finally felt it with Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah. Yeah.
But where are you at, especially in doing Pixar, the live action stuff, the animated stuff, the TV shows, Star Wars, Marvel?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I have a burnout yet, just because I have enjoyed everything that's been put out. Like some Star Wars I've had issues with, but honestly overall, like, I'll still watch them.
Sure.
And I enjoy pretty much every TV show that's come out with Star Wars. And yeah, and I've enjoyed all the Marvel TV shows, and I've enjoyed all the Marvel movies so far. Like, I don't think I'm quite, I do think they're not as special in the sense that I don't have the same rewatchability.
Yeah.
So again, like, I love rewatching movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big, like, I think I'm always going to find something new. I'm always happy to rewatch. And I think with all of the content that comes out, I just I don't have the time to rewatch. Like, I'm already got all the shows that I need to catch up on.
Yeah.
And the shows that are coming out weekly. But then also, I just don't feel the need to rewatch necessarily. Yeah. Like, I know I'm gonna get something new soon, so why would I rewatch?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that was maybe my next question was, like, is it a time thing?
Yeah.
You know, like, we talk about the Renaissance era where, you know, Beauty and the Beast comes out, and we have basically 2 years before Aladdin comes out.
Yeah.
Right. We have 2 years before Aladdin, so you have to just watch those VHSs. Yeah. Over and over and over again. You have time in between, but now it's 6 weeks to a new release, and you're already on to the new thing.
Yeah.
So there's is that a less special thing? Is it a time thing? You're right. I think I've only ever rewatched the Marvel stuff at most once each. No, like once more each. Yeah. And I think I stopped at phase 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't rewatch them.
That's fair. Yeah, I think it's probably a time thing where we just don't have enough time in between releases to be able to rewatch. So yeah, so like I would have watched Beauty and the Beast once a week until Aladdin came out. Yeah. And then I would watch Aladdin once a week till the next one, right? Like, you're welcome, Dad. So angry. But and I think that was the big thing. Like, to have a show come out, like I would have probably rewatched, let's say like WandaVision again. Yeah. But what came out? Hawkeye, Loki, one of those.
Falcon Winter Soldier.
Oh, Falcon and Winter Soldier, right. Yeah. Didn't even name the right one. But Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I'm like, well, I don't need to rewatch WandaVision because I have another. Yeah. And maybe, like, who knows who's going to show up in this one. And so I think, yeah, it's just that oversaturation of I don't really get to appreciate the previous as much. And
much like the Pixar stuff, we talk about it as a whole here, but when you think Star Wars or Marvel, do you think Disney? Or is that a separate thing? Is that why, are you better at separating them? Is that why you're not burned out as much as I am?
Yeah, maybe. Because I think in a way I do have like a Star Wars Disney versus a Star Wars. And mainly that's the 20th Century Fox logo. Because that huge. Like, I still equate that with like that was an only Star Wars thing.
Yeah,
like,
the drum roll.
Yeah, like that was for Star Wars, even though it was on numerous other films. But And so now when I play any of the other movies and it comes up with a Disney logo, I'm like, oh, this is Disney Star Wars. This isn't Star Wars.
Fair enough.
So I do think that's the one I separate, but I don't do that for Marvel. I think Marvel, like, to me, is its own category. It's its own
monster.
Its own entity. And so actually maybe that's just it was a Star Wars George Lucas, and then it was a Star Wars. Like, it's not. So maybe that's my difference. So yeah, I'm not burnt out with Disney because I don't quite equate all of their corporations to.
So we're talking, I guess, 30 years of this fandom.
Yeah.
Where's Disney Studios to you right now? What's the identity? You know, if we started off and they were the cartoon company that did princess movies, and then they turned into this multimedia thing with TV and a theme park, and then they started buying up all this other stuff. So but where are they now in terms of?
Oh man, that's hard because what are they? Because I think I would just put it all under the banner of like they are Disney Plus now, and like it is whatever that entails. Like I think just because everything is there, and I'm getting movies now without even like they don't even come to the theater; they're just coming to me on Disney Plus. Yeah. And I appreciate some of the choices that they make for that. Like I think it's crappy that Pixar doesn't get their films to theater now. Yeah. But at the same time, like the live action Pinocchio came straight to streaming, and so like that's fine. Yeah, I don't need to see that. You didn't have to spend the $20. Yeah, like so you bring up the remake. Yeah. And I know that's a big sticking point for all of us. Yeah. You know, they were an animation company. Yeah. And now I don't even know if their animation branch I would even think about in the hierarchy of their structure is even in the top 3. Yeah. Right? We're talking Star Wars, Marvel. Yeah. And then you can make a toss up between Pixar and the growth of this remake stuff. Yeah. Like it is actually, and that might be where Disney's headed, where I don't know what is the push for all of these live actions. Yeah. Like I think it's so strange to me to take these beautifully done animated films and then turn them into these sort of dark CGI live actions, and it just is so strange to me that they would do this. I made it through 5 minutes of Pinocchio. Oh yeah. I had too much Tom Hanks and weird accents in my week. That's fair. Yeah, it's the weird like we're Italian in this film, and it's like, well, you didn't really need to be. Like I get it, but you're not doing it well. No. Yeah. I made it through the whole thing. Like, and again, I don't know who the audience is. Because if the audience is like me having watched Pinocchio when I was a child, animated, and then watching it and live action now as an adult, maybe with my so-called kids, like, sure. They're like the bridge movies. Yeah, right? Yeah. Of like, oh, I want to show you this from my childhood, but you won't like the animated version, so let me show you this live action. Sure. But they make it darker somehow. Like... Instead of just having children turn into donkeys, which is scary enough as it is, they put these like shadow monsters in. Yeah. And it's no longer just a giant whale, it's a sea monster. Like, is it? It's not Monstro? It's Monstro, but like he's not a whale. As a monster, yeah. And they're not donkeys smoking cigars? No, donkeys smoke cigars in this, and that is very upsetting. What's the point? I know. Why did we watch it? They are still donkeys, but there's also like shadow monsters. But I'm like, what child? Like, it was terrifying enough that a giant whale could swallow you whole. And I'm like, did I miss something where like kids aren't as afraid now? And I think I saw like a shot of like the CG Honest John. Oh, and I was out. Yeah. I was like, that's horrific. Like it, yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, is it's such a weird film in itself, where it's like you have real people and then also just happen to have this cat and fox, and you're like, but everyone else is real. How terrifying is Stromboli? Because he's terrifying in the cartoon. He is terrifying in the cartoon. I didn't find him that terrifying, honestly. Like, I think the cartoon makes him more scary. And I think part of that was like a lighting thing. Like, they just always shot him from up. So you were always looking at him like this towering fat guy. And yeah. And
you're right about the stuff being darker, though. Like,
Yeah.
I remember specifically in Beauty and the Beast, where she travels back and like you find out like her mom died from like the plague.
Yeah.
I don't know if I needed that.
No. Like, it was like, I'm perfectly fine just knowing that her mother has passed away.
Yeah.
Like, that is fine. But yeah, to go back through everything and just, you get these, it's more horrific for some reason. And I'm like, do children need this in our day and age? Or are you trying to give me something as like an older child?
Well, I think you asked the right questions. Like who are these for, right? Like, it feels like misplaced nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, the remakes, I don't understand why they need to exist.
Yeah.
But then they do stuff like the Rescue Rangers movie or like the DuckTales reboot, which is like a nice modern spin on all of that stuff. And I thought the Rescue, I thought it was going to be too much for me. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I thought it hit all the right notes in terms of exactly what I wanted to, or all the good things that I remembered about that show and about that time period. And I don't have that with the movies. No. At all. They just make me angry for the most part.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think we're up to, I think I read something doing research for there's like 18 now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think I've enjoyed 3 of them.
Yeah, I don't even know if I could be able to tell you what the 18 were. Like, that's insane.
Because I think they've counted like the 101 Dalmatian movies.
Oh.
Cruella.
Right,
and stuff like that. And I don't mind Cruella.
Yeah. I like where they were trying to go with Cruella, because I think that idea of let's tell a different story.
Sure.
But also I'm like, I like villains just to be villains. Like, it's okay. I don't need to know that they had some like traumatic experience that turned them into a villain. It's okay that they're just bad people.
Yeah,
like,
that's always been my argument with something like Maleficent.
Yeah.
I think I like her less when I know there's trauma.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? As opposed to just being, she just looks badass.
Yeah.
And it's just terrifying.
Wants to kill that baby for no reason. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't need the reason. So I struggle with the idea of why these remakes exist, but I know that it feels like it's their new thing.
Well, and I give them credit for something like the remake of The Little Mermaid, because I think they are trying to do it with a representation in mind. Okay. So like to have Halle Bailey. Yeah. Halle Bailey. Gotta get that right. To have Halle Bailey come in, like, I think if that is your focus of this film, that's like, kudos. I think that's a good idea. But at the same time, again, the teaser trailer that they put out is just so dark and depressing. And I'm like, the whole, like, I get it, maybe you'll make the on land part like the fun, because that's what she's aiming for, but yeah, like,
Kiss the Girl is gonna be in like a swamp,
or something, right? Like, I'm like, why does it have to be this gritty realism? Like, I want my fantasy to be fantasy, like. And I think that's actually my favorite live action remake was the 2015 Cinderella. And like, it took, and even though it didn't have the songs, which I was sad about, they put them in, like, a couple of them in the credits, which I was really happy about, but depressed that they didn't have the songs throughout. It was just so vibrant and so colorful and beautiful, and it's still the story, still some like badass chicks like running around. And then these, like, well, obviously I love Richard Madden, so like what a fox. But it was this, it was just, I think they just did such a good job with that. And it was this older telling of Cinderella, like this teenage version, right? And so if that's what they want to do, great. If they want to take Little Mermaid, like, I just need them to put that vibrancy in it. We have these 2D animations that are so beautiful, and then they're just taking the set design for CGI Aquaman underwater, and it's so dark and depressing. And I'm like, no, it should be beautiful. It should be vibrant. It should be colorful. Like, I don't know. So,
remakes aside, how do you feel about them coming back to doing, like, revisiting something like Mary Poppins 40, 50 years after the fact and stuff like that?
Yeah. I
didn't hate the movie.
No. I it's one I need to rewatch again. Again, like, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda, so I did struggle.
It has a lot of Miranda-isms.
Yeah, it does, and especially because it's not just him writing songs; it's him actually performing in the film. Yeah,
like this chimney thing could have been.
Oh yeah, like ooh. But I sort of understand that where it's been a really long time. Like, let's come back to it and let's try to connect another level. So like your grandparent would take you to that theoretically. Like I think I like that. Whereas I'm still in my, like, I don't feel that far removed from the Disney princess renaissance.
No.
So to get a Mulan and a Beauty and the Beast and a Little Mermaid, I'm just like, why am I getting these things? Like even Cinderella, that was the 50s to 2015.
Yeah.
So that's 60 years. Like I can sort of see that a little bit better too. But yeah, to get all of these, I guess it's within 30 years. Like that just doesn't.
Yeah, the Mulan one, right?
Yeah, the Mulan's even less, right? Yeah, I don't know.
98.
Yeah. So it's pushing it a little bit to me where I'm like, if you are directing this as an older version of me, like I am your target audience, then these movies need to be the exact same as the animated, just live action. like
the shot for shot.
Shot for shot. I need everything. Like change the actors, fine.
Just remember to hire people that can sing.
Yeah. Actually hire the singers as the characters. Oh, that was really sad. That director was so bad for Beauty and the Beast to tell him that wasn't a French accent. Oh, jeepers. Anyway, yeah, I think that's my thing. Like, go for it, but then I just want you to remake the movie. Like, I like that's basically what I'm looking for. I want the songs to sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
I don't want any like inflection changes because I loved that movie so much.
Yeah.
And so it's so weird. It's weird to me that it would be like we're directing this at parents and children and the parents who've loved this film. Well, then I want it like a Rescue Rangers where they've sort of, it is an older version, right?
Yeah.
Like they're coming back being like, oh, we've aged, we've matured, and now we're coming back to another story.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, let's just retell the story. Like it's sort of.
No, you're not a big fan of like Lana Del Rey just singing just extremely slow versions of the songs.
I mean, I did love that, but
it's a great song.
Again, like credit song, totally fine. Yeah, and I think that's my like, yeah, that's sort of my problem. Like, I think Lion King did a good job to a point where they had some of those key moments and they tried to keep things the same, but then
it's like watching a wax museum sing.
I know. Well, and so that's my problem is that they were like, we need to make this hyper realistic and like lions don't blink or cry, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but when Simba's crying over his dad, I am dying. So like I need that.
Yeah.
Like that is what I'm waiting for in this film. So it's hard. And so again, I push Disney, especially with these live actions, to go like, who is your audience? Why are you making these?
Right.
Like, and what is the purpose of this?
Fair enough. You touched on it earlier, so we're gonna get maybe a little political here.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Surprised.
Yeah. Sure.
You had mentioned possibly having these movies being retold with more representation in mind.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing, obviously. But where do we draw the line, especially for as super fans of a corporation where it's very, very clear that there's a divisible line between the boardroom members and the creatives in terms of messages moving forward and goals.
Yeah.
Like how are you able to separate that, which is tough because I don't know how to do it either.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about these old dudes sitting in a boardroom looking at bottom line and profit, donating money to organizations that are less than admirable. Yeah. And then you have these creatives pushing and striving to make waves in terms of representation and all that stuff. Yeah. How do you deal with that?
I know, and I think there needs to be a sort of happy medium in between, which will never happen. But also, I think in some ways, like Disney as a massive corporation, like they are making money, and so they should be able to push some boundaries. And it doesn't have to be with every film, but it shouldn't be, they shouldn't be worried about the, like, I don't know, this is gonna sound bad, but like the southern states population who are racists. Like they should, or the homophobic people, like they should push past that and be like, we're gonna make this movie because it is the right thing for representation of people. And so I think that's a big thing, like with Inside Out 2 coming out. People are saying, like, what can you do with Riley to give her more representation? So Riley's the main character of Inside Out. It was her brain that we were in, that we were following all of her emotions. And so Inside Out 2, like, if you are going to do this again, where she's going through all of these emotions, how can you make it more applicable to people? And so I think that as a big corporation, like, you should be able to do that. And so, again, it doesn't have to be every film, but, like, you should be able to push the boundaries and you should be able to test the limits kind of idea. So I would, but I think, again, because they're sitting in their boardroom counting their coins like Scrooge McDuck, they're not thinking about that. They're just trying to think of, like, how can we reach the most amount of people? Like, how can we get the most amount of money for this film?
It just strikes me as odd in terms of the product that you put out representing your ideals, usually is what the case is, but it's not the case here. I mean, obviously they took some strides to the Florida bill.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But the fact that the people had to push them to make that happen. Yeah. When it should have been outright. Yeah. Done right away kind of a thing. So I wonder, it gives off, I don't know if it sends the wrong message, but it's a harsh reminder to me, at least. Yeah. That there's two separate entities in that company. Yeah. You know, for all the good reasons that they put out a Mulan movie, I boycotted that movie because of all the other reasons they put out a Mulan movie. And so much of that stuff, as I feel, I always want to blame the studio, and I don't know if that's misplaced.
I think in this case, like, just from like, we have had a lot of vocal, I guess, like, tweets from people that have worked for Disney and saying, and Pixar, and being like, we have been stopped as a creative team from putting more representation in. Yeah. And so I think maybe that, like, in that case, you're like, well, this is a studio problem, and they don't see like, they're only counting it from a money perspective. So, like, with Mulan, right, and that whole having that connection with the Chinese government, like, that was a studio problem. Yeah. And so I think at this point it sort of has to be, like, I think the creatives are pushing, or it seems from that minuscule snapshot that we get, like, it feels like the creatives are really pushing for more and the studio is holding back. But then again, you see this Little Mermaid trailer and they're this teaser, and it's been the most downvoted video on YouTube ever. So, like, there's clearly, again, my pushback isn't that it's Halle Bailey. My pushback is, you've made this a dark CGI, gritty. Yeah. Like, why do I need Batman as Little Mermaid? Like, that's what you're giving me here. But just the fact that I don't know what they're going to do with that information. Yeah. Like, the fact that it has been downvoted so much and is just so, like, hey, publicity's publicity, so maybe people are going to...
You hope to do the right thing in that sense.
Yeah. And not be a... Yeah.
Parker has mentioned this before about his fandom for Rick and Morty. Yeah. And how the toxic fandom has kind of made him want to not be a part of it or shy away from it. Yeah. Do you find that with hardcore Disney fans, especially with the older Bible Belt go woke, go broke crowd? Yeah. Especially it was surprising to me because I ran into a lot of them on the theme park blogs. Oh, really? Yeah, they flood the comments. Yeah, with like anti-representation stuff, and like I even hesitate to say I don't think that they're anti. I don't know that they're fully homophobic or they're just anti-representation. Yeah, because they think it's forced. But I'm like, at some point, it's got to be, guys. Yeah. So does Does that kind of stuff bother you?
It does take its toll, where I don't think it harms my viewing of the classics, like, or of what Disney continues to put out kind of idea. Like, I think the naysayers don't quite turn me off, but it is getting to the point where, like, I don't want to be as representative of as a fan for that, right? Like, I don't want people to confuse me with those fans. And so I do struggle a little bit where, like, how do I explain to people, like, this is the kind of Disney fan I am? Yeah. And so how do I get a shirt that says that like, and so I do struggle a little bit where I don't want to be seen as that, like, like, oh, well, we have to stick to the original source material. Like, Belle is in France in the 1800s, so therefore it has to be this way. Yeah. Like, I don't think, again, it's fantasy. Like, it's a story. It's a fictional story.
There's a talking candelabra in it.
Yeah. So. Like, how much do I need it to be exactly the way? Yeah. And again, that was the same, like, that's the argument with Little Mermaid. Like, why can't it be someone else? Like, why does it have to be so specific?
Technically, possibly, probably in the Caribbean.
Yeah. Or like I keep seeing, and I used to love the Little Mermaid animated show that came out. I watched it before I go to school. Like, it's so great. But there's an episode there where she meets a mermaid from the African coast. So like the Ivory Coast. So I'm like, like, it's always been here. So you people freaking out, like, there's no reason. Yeah. But yeah, I think there's this purity of Disney, and I don't think we have that anymore. I could have, like, maybe argued that purity of Disney previous, and you'd have to go back to, like, the 60s to argue that purity of Disney. But I don't see that anymore. Yeah. And I don't know why. As a huge fan of Disney, I don't get that purity.
Fair enough. Oh, that's a really good. Okay, we're going to come back to that really quickly. But as a massive fan of Disney and as a massive fan of film in general, is what they're doing bad for film or good for film in terms of the marketplace, in terms of theater availability? Yeah. You know, the lifespan of a non-Disney movie is such a tiny window now. Yeah. And whether that's in theater, whether it's on stream space. Yeah. We've talked about it before, and I'm obviously of the mindset that I think it's detrimental in the long run. Yeah. But where do you stand on that?
I am a little worried that because it's so oversaturated, like, there's so much in the market of Marvel.
It's like 8 or 9 movies a year now.
Yeah, all Star Wars, Disney. Yeah. That you do miss out on the films that are really impactful, that are really cute, because they don't have that time. Like, they don't have the space. Sure. So something like Marcel the Shell or Everything Everywhere All at Once, like, those were fantastic films. They were small films. And if you have, if you have these blockbuster movies or these Disney studio movies coming out and taking up every theater for weeks on end, because they never leave, right? They're always there for like a month. People miss out on these smaller films. And so I do worry that it's this sort of overtaking that they've, again, like, it's a monopoly. They've monopolized it. Yeah. And that you're going to miss out on these cuter films. And so as a company, like, something with Disney Plus, they should be promoting these smaller cute films. Like, I like should
Pinocchio?
No. No Pinocchio. Not Pinocchio. No, but, like, not their own films. Yeah, no, I gotcha. They should be putting, again, they should, because, buy these independent films and put them on give them a streaming service. Yeah, and advertise them, like, show them to me, display them on my Disney Plus that I should be watching.
That'd be great. Yeah. I wish that was the actual case.
I know.
We'll try to end here with some good stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll talk about something extra near and dear to our hearts. Yeah. That's the theme parks.
I love them. I love them so much.
It's home. Very much so. But you had mentioned earlier the magic, or that special little thing. And you could always, even if you didn't feel it in the theaters or at home or whatever, you could always go to the park and feel it. Yeah. And I lost that the last time I went.
Yeah, you were saying.
Right. And so much of that has to do. It's post COVID.
Yeah.
They're still trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
But it was weird. It was a weird spot to be in. You had gone just previous to that.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple months before that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you had the same issues or you were just happy to be back.
I think it was a happy to be back for sure.
Yeah.
And wanting sort of to go back to normal from COVID to like be able to experience the parks like I used to.
Yeah.
And it was definitely different. Like we were masked up the whole time. I was really worried about like my anxiety was more so it wasn't as enjoying it as much. But yeah, I'm on all of these groups, like of course, the theme park groups, and yeah, there's every other comment is like the magic's gone. Disney has no magic anymore. Like they don't know how to, or they're just a money grab. They're just a cash grab, and I worry a little bit about that if I were to go again. Like I think having all of that negative, because for 2 years no one was really at the park, and then now coming back, it's like, oh, everyone's having a negative experience. Yeah,
and like I said, I had moments where I was reminded of the good things, but for the most part, like it had been a while, obviously, post COVID. Yeah. You guys went a couple months before that, but right before we went into lockdown, we took a trip.
Yeah.
And it might have been one of my best Disney trips ever.
Yeah.
In that sense. So it wasn't that far removed.
No.
You know, we weren't that far removed from it. And this time I was wondering what it was and whether it was, hey, is there too much going on here between Galaxy's Edge from our Avengers Campus? Is there just too much? Yeah. But Galaxy's Edge was open when we were there.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
And this time it felt, everything felt a little bit slightly more commercial.
Yeah.
I had to find smaller moments for myself to figure out to shoot myself in the arm and be like, no, it's still Disneyland. It's still Disneyland. And but the idea that I had to do that. Yeah, that you had to like convince yourself was a struggle, and I worry about the long term. Yeah, just like you, I worry about the long term effects of what that is, and I'm like, oh, I could not imagine a time where I wouldn't want to go to Disneyland. Yeah, and I'm like, there's like hints of me moving in that direction, being like, I hate that. Yeah, I hate that feeling. I do worry because I think it's getting like I almost need a different park for Star Wars and Marvel. Yeah, like I need them to be a little bit separate, because I think that is a big thing. Like Disney, I want them to have all of their own separate identities. Like it's not under this big Disney heading and Disney controls all of it. This weird wizard. But that there is a little bit of a separation, because I think you've now combined all of these sort of fantasy groups, like the Star Wars people, the Marvel people, the Disney people, and there is a clashing of like, I'm going to go on my storybook rides and I'm going to enjoy the crap out of the like cute little Toontown for Disney. But now I've got these adults who only want to do Star Wars or only want to do the Marvel stuff. And it's extra strange too, because you probably remember from a time when that stuff didn't exist. Galaxy's Edge wasn't there, so like those lands were pretty properly divided. Yeah. So when you went to Fantasyland, it was mostly families and stuff like that. Yeah. And you went to Frontierland, it was mostly people just walking to get out of Frontierland. Yeah. but it wasn't as busy. But now, because of the different exits and entrances, so it's weird to see all these 501st bros with their lightsabers walk through Fantasyland because it's the shortcut. Yeah. So now it feels, it's this weird small stuff like that makes me feel off. And I was having like a late dinner at Red Rose Tavern because I'm like, this is a carousel. Yeah. The lights, the sounds, and then there's just a parade of lightsaber dudes and obnoxious. And it's not everybody. It's just happening more. Yeah. And that had moments where that was taking me out of it as well. Yeah. And I think it's that like crossover of fandom where it doesn't quite, this isn't quite the crossover that we want. Like I'm happy to have a crossover of fandoms. Like I like when they have those cameos, but it's sort of,
it's almost too much with the parks where it's just overtaking and you're like, I don't know how my love of like cutesy Disney fits with my love of Star Wars.
Absolutely.
In this. Yeah.
Like it's the Marvel it's the Avengers campus next to the Cars Land thing too, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just it's almost jarring.
Yeah.
It's a little
switch.
I get it.
Yeah.
You guys don't have, it's not Disney World. You don't have unlimited space and swamp to just build on.
Exactly.
So I get that you're gonna have to put this 3 steps away, but I still miss Bugs Land.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
it pulls you out a little bit of that
yeah.
Disney nostalgia, that classic Disney nostalgia to this sort of modern day Marvel Star Wars. Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of where they're at.
Yeah.
But it's something we'll have to deal with.
Yeah. And
I'm not ready to cope with it. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. I really I'm really pushing, if Disney execs, if you're listening, you know, all those viewers we have. Yeah, what is your audience? Like, what are you expecting of this, I guess? Because that's with the films, with the animated films, with the live action, like, who is your target for this? Because I think that once they figure that out, they should be golden.
Yeah.
And again, for the parks, like, what is your target for the parks? Because if it's families, like,
It's not.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like it for sure.
Yeah.
And for a while there, you know, like when we went, I'm like, the 30-somethings who grew up not being able to always go to Disneyland are here now spending money because that's what we grew up on. That's what we love.
Yeah.
And now I don't know if it's that either.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that either. So I don't know what the market for the parks is anymore.
No.
I feel lost a little bit. Lost in my own home.
I think Disney's lost too. I think they yeah.
So we're gonna end with a little bit of fun because I wanted to stress you out a little bit.
Yeah, great.
We're gonna play the game.
Oh no.
We're gonna it's called One Has to Go.
I'm terrible at this.
And I've purposely categorized these just for you.
Okay, great. So great.
Okay. So we're gonna do, I think it's 6 rounds.
Okay.
So we'll try to get through them.
Okay.
Okay. First round.
Okay.
One of these has to go.
Okay.
Snow White.
Okay.
Cinderella. Sleeping Beauty.
Oh gosh.
Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, had to throw Alice in there.
You betcha.
Alice has to stay for sure. Cinderella has to stay. Oh. No, I'd probably have to. Oh, but the dwarves are so cute. But the fairies. My mom will be so disappointed, but I'd probably have to get rid of Snow White.
That was the hope.
Yeah,
that was the hope.
I'm a sucker for.
We're gonna move on a little bit further.
Okay.
Peter Pan, Dumbo.
Okay.
Pinocchio.
Oh.
Jungle Book.
Oh, I'd get rid of Pinocchio.
That was an easy one.
Yeah.
I was tempted. I'm like, she's gonna say Pinocchio. Can I
Yeah.
take that off and put Robin Hood in there and make it real difficult?
Oh, that would have been really hard.
Yeah, I didn't want. I got more, so I didn't want to completely stress you out.
Yeah. Thanks for an easy one there.
Ready for probably the hardest one?
Okay.
You already know.
Oh.
It's the big 4.
Oh no.
Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King.
Oh, it hurts. I can't even. I have to keep all of them. I'll get rid of one, but I'll just secretly tuck it back.
Tuck it up.
Tuck it into my shirt.
What's best about those is you get rid of one, you should be able to recite and do a 1-person stage play of all of it.
Yeah. Like I still have it totally memorized and down pat, but oh, this is gonna be so bad, but I feel like I would just have to get rid of I think I'd have to get rid of Aladdin in this case. Oof. I know, and
I think they're all wrong answers.
Yeah.
Right? So at the end of you would have said anything, and I would have had the same exact reaction.
It would have been so upset.
That's a tough one, though. But
that's really hard. I think just because I have such a Aladdin was a classic, but I didn't have quite the same grab as I did with like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Lion King for some reason. Like,
is it because it was a dude?
Maybe that was the focus, and not the cutesy animals, and not the there was something. It just wasn't as princessy, so I can't.
Yeah,
but
I gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Oh man, that's tough.
We'll take it into your golden years here.
Okay.
Hunchback.
Yeah.
Tarzan, Mulan, Hercules.
Oh, that's rough too. I am a sucker for Hunchback.
You and I are absolutely the few people I know that movie is.
That's like Such a good choice. No, but I think even then I probably have to get rid of it.
You made me go on a whole thing.
I know.
Get sentimental, and you're gonna cut it.
But I have to, because like, oh man, like Hercules, Tarzan has to stay just for Phil Collins soundtrack. Yeah, no, Mulan's so good too. Oh no, yeah, I'd have to cut.
That's a tough one.
That sucks.
I mean, they're only gonna get harder. The last two I thought I made, these are for you.
Okay.
Toy Story,
Yeah.
Monsters Inc., Wall-E, Up.
Oh. Okay, Wall-E and Up are like my two favorite Pixar,
I know.
so they just have to stay. So between Toy Story and Monsters Inc. See, my issue is always, I really like. I think I like Toy Story, but I think I like the other Toy Stories better.
I almost put Toy Story 3 in here to make it difficult.
Yeah, because that was so good. Yeah, I think I'd have to get rid of Toy Story, but because I really like Monsters Inc. It is so cute. yeah, I think I'd have to get rid of it, which is so bad. Original.
And then the last one.
Okay.
This one, I think I wasn't gonna do it, and then I realized it was you, so we had to.
Okay.
Princess Diaries,
Oh.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Ella Enchanted, and Enchanted.
Oh, that's so tough. Pirates of the Caribbean, funny story, was the first movie I realized like that made me buy movies because I was sick and I made my mom go out and buy it for me, but it was when it was like when you only rented it for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I made her rent it like 3 days in a row for me. And then finally she's just like, I bought it. I'm wasting so much money. And I was like, you can just buy movies. I'd probably have to get rid of Enchanted.
Whoa,
yeah.
That's not the one I would have thought.
No, I like Ella Enchanted, Pirates of the Caribbean, Princess Diaries. I love those.
Enchanted. I did not expect that. I would have thought you would have said Princess Diaries.
Oh no, it's just such a classic. Such a classic. Oh yeah, no, I think I'd have to get rid of Enchanted, which is it's also very good. Too.
Wow,
that's tough.
I would not have given you that.
Oh my god!
Yeah. I knew Pirates. I knew Pirates was gonna be a thing.
Oh, yeah.
I knew Ella Enchanted was gonna be a thing.
Yeah, I love those too.
Oh boy,
Ella Enchanted's so good.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. That's our Disney retrospective, which was
that was fun. Yeah,
it was always good. Always good. Let us know if you guys have favorites or if you guys hate Disney, as most people do.
Yeah.
Oh, not most people. It's a thing, though.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Why are you running out of Disney?
Yeah.
Like why are you overrun?
Yeah. Tell us if we have too many. Our rose-colored glasses are on too tight.
Yeah, that might be it.
Although I don't know if they're on too tight. We did hash out a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Let us know.